So, greetings everyone,
Oh,
and welcome to the Infinite Ammo Syndicate podcast. We're doing a special podcast on the discussion of role-playing games. So, I'm your host, Renegade Operative, and I'd like to introduce my panel. So, first we have Andre.
Yo, what's up? Glad to be here. Can't wait to talk about a game genre that's very important and is still thriving today.
Okay, Mother's Milk, introduce yourself.
What?
Oh, sorry, I had to. It is Mother's Day, so we have the formal den mother of the IAS here to introduce herself.
Hi everybody, Lady Tolkien. I am super excited to conversate with you all about RPGs.
All right, Cryo, introduce yourself.
hello everyone, I'm Cryo. Can't wait to talk deeply about RPGs in general.
Cujo, introduce yourself.
Hey, how's it going? My online handles don't mesh up, and I've been grinding for weeks, and my equipment sucks.
And I think we have everyone. Drill's running a little bit late, but you know, when he gets in here, we'll introduce him late. So we're gonna go on with the first question
I'm
here.
gonna let him just come in raw and not explain anything. He's just like, hey guys, how's it going? Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Get in it.
We gotta bring him up to speed. We gotta bring him up to speed.
It's gonna break the flow of the podcast, don't worry about it. But the first question here is, role-playing games is a subgenre that has existed for a very long time. Can you remember your first experience with RPGs and what captivated you to play them initially? Who wants to go first?
I guess I'll go first then.
Go ahead.
Let's see, all my experience with RPGs. It's kind of weird because like I grew up with like PlayStation, Nintendo, and I think my very, very, very first experience with an RPG was probably Super Mario RPG. Because at the time when I saw the cover, I was like, wait, Mario, Bowser, and Peach. I wonder what this game is about. So I played it, and apparently it didn't really play like a traditional Mario game. It was more like a turn-based game. I was like, oh, so this is very different. So me being young, I didn't really beat the game, but I was interested in the whole genre, and I actually did not really fully get into RPGs till like I want to say early teen years, but I did know of them quite a lot back then. So yeah, that was pretty much my very first experience with RPGs.
Who else wants to go next? Cujo? Oh, he's indisposed.
Sure. Let's see. The first one I can clearly remember playing. It's funny. I didn't grow up with video games for very long. I had like cousins that had them, but I didn't own one for a really long time. I think the first one I owned was Final Fantasy IX, and it was handed off to me by somebody who, like an absolute bastard, did not include the last disc, because I think he must have got it off. It fell off a truck for him too. So I'm like, oh geez, and that was killing me for a really long time. But I really liked the characters. The music and plot was really good in it, and it just got me really I was super invested in it. And part of me liked how it was kind of very relaxed. You could kind of just take you take a more like laid back approach to it. You didn't have to be edge of your seat gripping the controller white knuckle, and it wasn't as skill oriented. You could just kind of do that when you're I don't know, when you get off work or something where you could just really relax and play them.
Well, Carl, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like the first game I played that really got me into RPGs was when I was a kid, and I think it was like maybe towards the end of me being in elementary school. So that was about like I want to say 6th, 7th grade. Actually no, 5th grade, because there was his online RPG game, and it was called Adventure Quest. Eventually, it turned into Adventure Quest Worlds, and it was just like basic. Uh, uh, Now looking back on it, it's kind of like low tier ish kind of RPG game, but I really loved it. It was very simple to do. I liked the story with it. I liked out with some friends on it. I have not played that game in a while, but that pretty much sparked my interest for um RPG games.
Oh, my answer is so short, so I'm just gonna get on with it. So the first answer was actually taken by Andre because he said Super Mario RPG, and that is technically the first RPG I saw like ever. But next time, like I think later on in my lifespan, I decided to pick up the Pizza Hut demo disc. It was green. I don't remember the name. I don't even recall it, but I remember there was a demo for Final Fantasy VIII. Played it, enjoyed it, and for what it was, I liked the game. It got me a little bit more invested into the systems, mechanics, the stats, everything that was programmed into what made an RPG so good in the first place. So from there, I picked up my first real RPG, which was Grandia 1, that was bought from my mother. And she gave it to me, and that was really, really good. And from there, I just grown like this really good affinity for the series and everything involving RPGs as a subgenre. So that is my answer. Now, Kat, what is yours?
Let's see. RPGs. First one I ever played too was probably along the lines of Mario, but I developed my love for Tolkien way back when I was younger. It was probably one of the first Game Boy games I played was Lord of the Rings, and loved it ever since.
Nerd.
I know. Proud of it.
Oh,
I'll
nice.
accept it.
It was is it the PS2 Lord of the Rings Tolkien?
No, it was Game Boy Advance.
Okay, gotcha.
Mhm.
That PS2 one sucks.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I have those too, and they're interesting.
I remember there's the bit where they're like, "Get out of the Shire and don't be seen," and I'm like, "You mean with these ass stealth mechanics?"
Oh man, that's another discussion for another day, because I remember they had like a bunch of Lord of the Rings games for like PS2.
There's a ton, yeah. I think I mean, if you spend all the time on those games, it might take longer than just reading the book.
Oh
No.
yeah.
Or watching the movies, like 4 hours long.
Well, it depends. I mean, the games don't ever have like an hour-long cinematic where everybody sings about a tree or introduces Tom frickin' Bombadil.
Mhm.
Oh man. Okay, so I guess we can move on to question number 2. So who wants to read that?
Sure, I'll take it.
Go ahead.
Question 2. What are some of your favorite RPGs of all time? Give a reason as to why. And I don't need to read the parenthetical part. It's and do you want me to just immediately jump in and answer my own question? I love like RPGs that have like a weird gimmick to them that I don't see in other stuff. So like Legend of Legaia is one of the ones that I really love. Rogue Galaxy is a huge one that I'm a fan of. Star Ocean 3, and to a lesser extent, I guess 2 is up there. Steambot Chronicles is a really big one, but I don't know if it counts because I know we'll get into it later, but like RPG is kind of a very blanket term sometimes. And a lot of the Dragon Quest ones are up there too. I like a lot of their systems. But yeah, those are, if I had to, I saw that question earlier and I'm like, oh man, I got to come up with like a top 5 or something. And that's probably not even an accurate top 5, but at this moment in time, that's my top 5.
For me,
shit!
Oh,
Fucking no, go ahead. I'm just gonna keep listing shit.
okay. For me, there's a lot of RPGs out there, but in terms of personal favorites, I'll go quickly. Final Fantasy X, because I've been playing that a lot lately, and FF10 is just really damn good. Like it's probably my favorite FF because I have like a lot of really fun nostalgic memories for that game. Good times, except the blitzball part that sucks. But I really like South Park: The Stick of Truth. That game is really fun. Like the fact they literally did a South Park RPG is just, and it was based off like what was it, the World of Warcraft episode was just perfect. I mean, dude, you fight Al Gore as a secret boss. That's amazing. And last one was uh probably Fallout New Vegas. I think New Vegas is the best Fallout, at least in my opinion. Had a lot of fun times playing that game, good times. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say on my favorites.
Oh, I mean, uh, well, some that I've played a little bit. Oof, I did like Zork. For those of you that don't know, Zork was a home computer text adventure that fell in line with RPG. In fact, it's one of the earliest known forms of RPG game before they started like full on like labeling games as RPG or not RPG, but it still technically falls under the category of an RPG. There was it was a JRPG. It was a Japanese role playing game called Misao, and ooh, that game was. Let me tell you that game would give you the creeps. Let's see. And I guess since they're more modern, it's now modern action RPG. Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West. Those two stick out the most because the story really gripped me. So those are the ones that I can think of at the top of my head at this moment.
Let me skim through mine real quick. Parasite Eve, obviously, I've played that recently for the channel. Nice survival horror RPG if you're willing to get into fighting people and having these statements of people talking about the sperm and the egg. Well, that game will be right for you. So there's also like other games that I played as well, like Grandia 1 and 2. Someone recommended me Grandia 2, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. I played the first one. I feel a little burnt out. Then I played 2, and I'm like, this game is fucking awesome. I need to play more of it now. There's others like that kind of fall on the wayside compared to mainline series. So for Mega Man, people know the platformer side, but they have some pretty good RPG games. I think the one that pops in my head is Mega Man X Command Mission. I thoroughly enjoyed playing that, and playing the game from another side of just doing turn-based combat and seeing how the characters power up into their super armor. I thought that was pretty original and unique.
The game was my white whale. I remember renting it and I forgot to just play it before it had to get turned back in.
Oh yeah, it was definitely worth the experience though, because once again they're putting it in an RPG sort of format, and I think it really works for that style of game. There's also like a lot more RPGs in the Mega Man space as well, which I really enjoyed. Final Fantasy is the big one where everyone has played it. Like Final Fantasy VII Remake. We're gonna talk a little bit more about turn-based and action RPGs as we go along. But yeah, I have a very extensive history.
Okay, so quickly I can run through mine. If I had to think of like top 5, 6, it would be, of course, Lord of the Rings, Mario and Luigi, Superstar Saga is one of my favorites. Grew up enjoying playing Pokemon, the Attack on Titan RPGs I enjoy, Assassin's Creed, and then Ren knows I'm eventually going to bring this one up, but Elden Ring's definitely on my list of top RPGs.
We know.
Hush.
I want to take the good time out and say Bloodborne Remake. That's when I'll start, Karen, when they do that. Because I like the first one, so there's that. And I guess if I were to name like a few more, Neo. I really like Neo 1 and Neo 2. Very good. You can play co-op with people, drop in and kill some Oni demons. So they really came a long way from the beta and the alphas, which fixed things along the way.
I'm gonna add two more to mine. Since tech I guess not actually no, it's not. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say if this would be technically one. Um, I'll have that as like an iffy. The board game Jumanji.
Oh God, Jumanji.
Oh yeah, I remember Jumanji.
Don't worry. I played it. I played the game. I didn't get sucked into the board. I'm still here. No one had a roll a double. I'm fine.
You don't have a long scraggy beard, and you're like, what year is it?
I mean, my hair is as long as Robin's was, and I do have a. I do almost have a beard like him. So
Actually,
wait a minute. Maybe I did get sucked in.
I had a thought. I forgot one game. I remember really liking Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. That was a fun game.
Yeah.
That game is like, it's like cheese incarnate, but it just works.
Also the second game, which is obvious because they did make an actual game out of it from what I know, but I've only played the tabletop of it. Dungeons and Dragons. D&D. Good old D&D.
Tolkien, did you list any more, or is that it?
Yeah, we kind of jumped in.
Yeah, I had to interject with Bloodborne so bad. I was like, I don't want to miss that one. I really don't.
No, I didn't want to take too much time, so I just listed my 5, 6. I can always go into detail later with other questions.
Then I have to throw an honorable mention to Legend of Dragoon. I'm so mad at myself for not saying it.
I have that game.
Yeah, that game's awesome.
That game is
Dragoon's
awesome.
lit. That's
It's
a fun game.
so awesome, dude. Just the music and how everyone looks in armor and that whole time system where you can strike and everything and do criticals. Whoo, that game was so fucking amazing. Sony is kind of slacking on not remaking it because I think it would fit into modern conventions now.
Oh, don't remake it. Just remaster
Absolutely.
it or like something like that, or give it like an HD buff. Don't remake it. Keep it exactly as it is.
You know what? If they did that too, I'd be totally fine with that because the original game does stand the test of time.
Also,
yeah.
I would just say don't even change any of the voices. Just uncompress the audio files, because if anybody else says "gust of wind dance" and it doesn't sound exactly like Lavitz or Albert, I'm gonna be a little miffed. It's in this brain. It's been here for a while.
Yeah. That game's voice acting, it was pretty cheesy, but it was still good. But it was like the good kind of cheese, you know?
That game is fantastic. I would pick that up and play that to completion any day.
Actually, I forgot one more. My bad. I forgot one more. Do you guys ever play Dark Cloud by any chance? Dark Cloud 1?
Yes.
Dark Cloud's awesome, dude. I remember playing Dark Cloud 2 so much as a kid. I was addicted. Like, you can like make buildings, you fight with robots. It was just so fun.
Dark Cloud will teach you just how freaking petty a homeowners association can really be. I remember sitting there going like, you have like a 2-story house near the river. What's your problem? I don't want to sit next to Macho's house.
Wait, was it in a van? Was it in a van down by the river?
Very close. A 2-story, artisanal van down by the river.
Dude.
But
when someone mentioned Dark Cloud, I thought about that. I thought about cats and dogs, or cats versus dogs. Is that what we call it? My plan now? Dark Cloud.
Dark Cloud, Cloud of Darkness. You get the idea. Nah, but those games are lit. They really need to make like a third one, like a new one. It's just like criminal. We never got like another game so long.
I think I'm RPG'd out there, so we can move on to the next one, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. We could either just sit here and keep listing great games all day.
Yes.
All right. Well, Cryo, you want to read the next one?
Sure. Okay. What do you think about the turn-based playstyle when it comes to role-playing games?
this is easy. I just love it. Like I know there is this huge debate out there of people saying turn-based versus action, but if I focus on the turn-based side, I would say, I mean, it's fine for what it is. Clearly the main motive is you take turns and then you strike the opponent strikes you, and you go back and forth in this little dance until one or the other is defeated. It's traditional, but it works just fine. And currently there's still games doing it like Persona and everything, and still thriving, and people are still interested in the style. So if there is that niche for everybody, I don't see what's wrong with it.
Yeah, I mean, turn-based has always been a part of RPGs, whether people want to like believe that or not, or just at least understand that turn-based has always been a thing with that genre. There's nothing new about it. There's nothing like there's nothing that's gonna like surprise like people that have been playing RPG games for like years upon years or what have you. It's not surprising. It shouldn't be jarring to people going like, wait a minute, turn-based RPG, that's unheard of. Like it's
Yeah.
always been a part of RPGs. Even in the East, like Japanese RPGs also has turn-based. It's not just a a Western concept either. It's just worldwide.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly. Hmm.
so that's my take. That's my take on it.
Uh, yeah, I think I'll go quick, but I think for me, like, I don't have any problems with turn-based games personally. I mean, there is a reason why there's a reason why they still exist, because you can do a lot with that, like, core systems, and we've gotten some really fantastic games out of it. Like you got stuff like Bravely Default. I know, that's an example, and like that style still is popular and always, still will stay. And you'll got people who hate it, but it is what it is. So yeah, there's something for everybody.
Anyone else want to go?
Sure. I was gonna say it's definitely a product of the time the game comes out. Turn-based was the only way you could do it when these games were first coming out. They didn't really work another way, because like Final Fantasy on the NES, you're not going to make like a real-time action RPG. That's just not a thing at the time. It traces back to tabletop games. You can't work out, well, you can, but especially for like, it's been brought up before, D&D, you kind of can't leave the shackles of a turn-based system. Can you move past it now? Sure, but I think that while it may have been kind of a product of its time, it fits really well. It especially for things like turn-based RPGs like not Final Fantasy, Fire Emblem and Shining Force and stuff like that. The addition of like movement tactics and placing your units with attack ranges and stuff like that, it fits great with turn-based. It wouldn't work real time. Especially that you're starting to get into the realm of like what is it? I can't think of the genre. The like base defense. You're starting to make it almost work like a Warcraft game at that point.
You mean RTS?
RTS, that's the one. Real time strategy, of course.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, as soon as you take away aspects of some games and you take the turn-based aspect out of them, it kind of becomes a different genre. So in some cases, I think it's kind of required to stick to that, but in other cases, it's fine to deviate away from it. I personally like the turn-based system a lot.
Yeah, because it also make like what you mentioned about tactics. Like it makes you go like, okay, which character should I use? Which character is more beefy? And like the ability that a character or two may have. Can I do this? Can I combine it with this and that? Make thing go boom. Like I honestly like turn-based in that aspect because it requires you to think, not just charge at things, with blunt force. It's like, no, you gotta sit there and you gotta like plan things out. accordingly. Otherwise, you're going to get your ass handed to you.
And then on top of that, if you take away stuff like if you take the turn-based out of a turn-based RPG, a bunch of it got brought up in the chat of like the indie RPGs, especially through things like Steam. A lot of those come out of things like RPG Maker, which are really designed to be turn-based. I've made a ton of RPG Maker games and then scrapped them because I'm a Philistine who hates my own work. But I've like if you take the turn-based part out of that, they become so much harder to actually make and balance because a lot of people, it's hard to make an action RPG. It just is.
Well, Tolkien, do you have any opinions on this?
I kind of share the sentiment with a lot of people. I think depending on the game, turn-based is really nice to have, and it works for a lot of games, and then some games it's not used as heavily. It just kind of depends on what play style you like.
Black man, you want to go next?
No, I mean, hi. Hey, I'm reading this on fucking podcast. How you guys doing? So to answer the question, no, you guys kind of nailed it. No, there's always a time and place for turn-based. No, some franchises do it. No, others stay away from it. No, it depends. It's case by case. I can't judge all of it. No, it just come down to the formula for whatever in a contextual manner.
Yeah, if it works for the game, then I don't really have the biggest issue in the world with it. I just think that it spiraled into this whole thing of many people saying that Final Fantasy can't progress as action, even though they're still doing like turn-based and action. So clearly they're showing that they can cater to both play styles at the same time. It just depends on what you prefer. Yep, this is question number 4, so I guess we can move on. So what do you think about action heavy / quick reflex style role-playing games?
Can I go first, actually?
Sure, you can go first, Brandon.
Honestly, as a person who loves action games, I welcome them. If there's a market for it, bring them on. Because Final Fantasy, honestly, for example, I don't have a problem with at least the mainline titles, because there's always a chance that spinoff can still take turns, like we've seen that before, right? I'm okay with Final Fantasy going the realm of action RPG, for example, because of the spectacle that you see, the characters do. Just you can never experience them. So games like Final Fantasy 15, Final Fantasy 7, and some others, more action RPG Final Fantasy titles. Now I'm okay with those being more action instead of turn-based. Oh yeah, button mashers. Don't get started on
that. What was it? For me, I don't mind action RPGs. I like playing them. They're usually really, like Brandon said, they have a lot of flash and spectacle, and that's always really fun to experience. Just like it's a lot more heavy. I want to say on you gotta plan things on the fly. Usually, it's a lot more like you're fighting an enemy. You gotta plan it carefully because you got a lot of freedom, but at the same time, you also gotta be careful because you can't you're not like a god. You still gotta adhere to the game's rules, and I really enjoy it. What was it? I remember 7 Remake, Tales of Rise. I only played the demo, but I really liked it. And I guess maybe Persona 5 Strikers can count as one. Yeah.
It's a Musou, but it still carries the DNA of RPG stuff from the Persona stuff. So I will count it personally.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, it's still got the. I mean, you still got the parties and stuff with it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say on that one.
Let's see. So as people usually say, they believe that RPGs are essentially, the action side, they're essentially butt mashers, and I've never agreed with that logic. I think if you played Final Fantasy 7 Remake and then you go in there, fight Hell House, and thinking, I'm gonna mash square and I'm gonna mash triangle and I'm gonna beat this boss, it's not gonna happen. You're gonna get a rude awakening. I think just the notion of thinking on the fly is also just as strategic as taking turns. It just makes you think faster. Oh, what am I gonna do? Hopefully I have the right spell and potion, and maybe I can dodge out of the way in time, otherwise I'm just going to eat shit. I think that it's once again that niche that also caters to the hardcore side where they want quick reflexes, or they want to deal with quick incantations while dealing with the enemies. I like it personally as well. like I said, I think that's also a niche that has its like ups and downs, but when it's done really good, when it's done really well, I just love that playstyle so much.
I'm glad you mentioned the whole button mashing thing because honestly, it goes both ways for both ends of the aisle. You have one side that says button mashing, and the other side that says stand still similar, which is far from the truth.
Yeah.
Both approaches have different approaches. So like for turn based, you can pretty much prepare for the fight because you can pretty much get it just how it goes, depending on the game, of course. Whereas action RPG though, you gotta be constantly doing the move. So like the approaches of how you deal with situations, different. But it comes down to are you smart enough to handle it? If you ask me.
It yeah, it kind of because I'm probably gonna be mentioning Horizon quite a few times. Um, it didn't happen as much in Zero Dawn, but in Forbidden West, even like when the difficulty is set to like easy, you still have to be on your toes because if you're just like swinging, if you're just swinging as fast as you can, you're gonna get hit like a lot. And the thing is, even when you like dodge out of the way, they just come right for your ass. Like depending on who um who the enemy is, they can be very relentless, which
Essentially,
I
you don't
actually
be
like.
reckless. Yeah, if you be reckless, you're gonna get wrecked. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in Forbidden West, if playing it on normal, there was one there was one enemy in particular where I think it was like maybe a few levels higher than it, and one attack from it, and half my health was gone. So yeah, it's definitely one of those games where you also have to be constantly moving and everything.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have this conception that you have to be turn-based to be like a true RPG. You can definitely straddle both sides of it. You can be action, you can be turn-based. The ones I
Yeah.
don't like are the ones that try to hybridize both of them and they do neither of them particularly well. For some
Yeah,
games like Rogue Legacy wouldn't have worked if it was turn-based at all. It had to be an action RPG. There's you've got like your secondary weapon that you can swap out between two different sidearms, one of which can like freeze enemies, the other ones that can make platforms that let you jump up onto them. That doesn't work turn-based. It would lose
yeah,
something completely.
yeah. Because I know, I could have sworn also like because what you said just triggered a memory in my head for Forbidden West, but I think you can combine two different. No, actually, I think if you do purge water, if you basically drench the machines, you can do double damage.
Mhm.
So I actually like that as well, that RPG element that they also include into the ARPG. But going back to like saying that, turn base isn't like part of like RPG, it is. It doesn't like it's just a form. There's different forms of RPG. There could be text adventure, like I brought up before about Zork. There's turn based, then there's action related RPG. That's another form. It's all different forms under the same category, RPG. That's
Mhm.
what some people fail to realize. I don't know if that just means like it's just one of those like times or something like that, or what, but I don't know, it is what it is in the end.
Actually, I got a question though. How do you guys feel about mechanics that force you to be active at all times in turn based? Because Final Fantasy is technically notorious for this with this ATB system. What Final Fantasy 4? Because you can't just sit there and not do nothing because the enemy will keep clocking you until you do something.
A lot of the PS1
Um,
era games you can turn that off though.
I mean, okay, barring that you can turn it off though. How do you feel about the mechanic in general?
Well, I was gonna say I think it's fine. It it kind of takes a little bit of the thoughtfulness away from it, but it means that you have to just pre-plan ahead a lot more. It turns the game more into like a chess match. You have to know who is going to act at what time. You have to know who you can boost the ATB for. You have to know who you can lower the ATB for, and then plan around that. Fuck, there are bosses that do like 4 ATB strings before you get a single turn. It just adds a new dimension to how much you have to plan ahead. It's fine.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, pretty much what Cujo said. Yeah, I like I said, I don't mind the ATB battles because it's really heavy on like patience and planning mostly. Like
Yeah.
when you fight an enemy, when you fight like a boss, you can't bum rush it. You gotta like analyze the boss's weaknesses, along with like paying attention because I think with enough like what was it once you get it down, then the fight's pretty easy. It just takes, it takes time, but once you get used to how the gameplay mechanics work, then yeah, it's smooth sailing.
Yeah, I mean, like turn-based and the enemy can like attack you, basically saying gonna basically skip your turn for a bit. I like that. I like that, but I also don't like it. Depends on how it's implemented. If it's implemented to be like kind of like constantly attacking you, or unless there's a cooldown, maybe 10 seconds. Every 10 seconds on your turn, if you don't hurry up and choose something, you're gonna get attacked. I can see that. I would be okay with that. Even maybe 5 seconds, but no less than that. Because with enemy attacking you like that, that makes your mind go like, okay, what do I do now? Like, what should I do to hurry up and get the ball rolling even more?
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Because uh, bum rush, like I said, was this bum rushing enemies never really ends well. I mean, you can do it. Well, some games you can do it if you have like a really good party and you got everyone leveled up and you at least know what you're doing. Then yeah, you can turn the tides into your favor. It's just don't. But when you get to them super bosses of like level 120, you better be ready.
All right, what's the next
I think we're
question?
done.
Yeah, I think this is done. I guess the next question is, what are our thoughts on Japanese influenced RPGs and the systems they provide? So, who wants to take that one first?
Sure. I guess I'll take it.
Okay.
So my thoughts on Japanese RPGs. I like JRPGs. Like I didn't really start getting into them until my teen years. Well, teen years was weird because this was around the time when like Elder Scrolls and other stuff was big, but at the same time, I was getting through like Final Fantasy through like F13 and Persona through Persona 4, and I really enjoyed those games. Like I never finished Persona 4 because I I think I played for like 5 to 10 hours and stopped, but I genuinely really liked what I played of it, and I did really like the style of it compared to like because JRPGs are kind of more like anime influenced to a degree, but at the same time they do offer like really great characters and like really memorable stories. Yeah, that's all I really gotta say on that one.
I think for me, a lot of like the JRPG influence, as opposed to Western RPGs. I feel like in Westerns, you're going to see a lot more of certain kinds of enemies. In JRPGs, when you run into a random battle, you could fight anything because JRPGs don't have any limit on what they're going to put you up against. A great example of that is Earthbound, where you fight a speed limit sign. You're generally not going to see that in a Western RPG. They kind of work by some rules. JRPGs don't give a shit. They're gonna be like, you're gonna fight a toaster, you're gonna fight a Playboy magazine, and you're gonna fight this weird dog that's somehow fused with a cardboard box. They got no limits.
No, depending on the JRPG though, what I do appreciate more over the Western side of things is the pretty much the freedom of practically almost anything. Now you're still gonna be restricted based on like say locale, logo and certain things like that though, but not as often as you would on the Western side of things. Because I feel like the East can do it, kind of put pieces together a lot better, and allows you to progress on your own merit without putting a huge roadblock, unless it's something that's obviously way out of your control.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
I know um I know, for example, I think it was called, I think it was made by the same one that did Miso. I think he also did The Mad Doctor. Um, it wasn't exactly quote unquote linear. It had multiple endings that you could achieve. Some good, some bittersweet, some bad. Uh, I know that there's a lot of opportunities for you to just basically get a game over. Like I think front of the high school because it for Miso because it's a game, it's a horror JRPG where uh you have to like take down the spirit of I think it's a former classmate that you knew. And there was this piece of paper in front of the entrance to the courtyard, and if you pick up that paper, uh, it's basically an instant death because I think it says in blood, "I'm in front of you" or "You're dead," and then it has a animation of the cut scene of the paper going down, and then there's the body of Miseo looking at you and just lunges at you. So I do like that aspect of a lot of JRPGs where um, there's a lot more choice in what you can do, more quote unquote freedom, whether it's a good kind of freedom or a bad kind of freedom, like I explained, like a choice that you do, pick up a piece of paper that I don't know, it could be poison for all we know. I do like that aspect because you gotta be careful about what you do.
The other thing I think is kind of cool is I don't know if anybody else has noticed. Western RPGs don't really get to do this, but Eastern RPGs tend to put a lot more of their settings in contemporary times. So you get a lot more stuff with kind of just showcases of locations in Japan, which I think is really interesting. You will the one that always jumps to mind is, like I said way at the beginning, my top 5 or whatever is going to change with the wind, and right now I just remembered I think my favorite is Shenmue. It's absolutely an RPG, and it's got this great thing that they do where they actually took a slice of Japan at the time. That's the You're playing within that area of Japan as it was in I think 19 when was it, 1980 something.
It was in the 80s, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was the
1980s.
80s.
And it absolutely is a believable chunk of Japan, right down to what the weather forecasts were on the days in the game. You're never gonna find that in like a Western RPG where they're like, go down to the main street and hit the McDonald's where you'll fight like a parking attendant. You're not gonna run into that. They don't, unless I'm wrong. But it seems like Eastern or like Japanese RPGs get away with that a lot more, where your characters are like in high school or something. Whereas in Western, it tends to lean way more into just classic fantasy or something that's not quite as, just run of the mill what you'd find today.
Anyone
All right,
else?
anyone else?
Yeah, actually.
Drill, you gotta
Hey,
introduce
Double,
yourself.
welcome.
Oh, yeah, sorry about being late, but it's me, Drobit. This is something I actually wanted to give my opinion on.
Oh, go ahead. What are your thoughts on Japanese RPGs?
I really like them. I think I like them because they try to keep the traditional style alive and at least, I guess, more diverse. they also have more diverse settings. They usually tend to have a lot of diverse settings, whether that's fantasy based or future, etc. Also, I guess I guess it's I mean they still keep. I guess this is going for all like Western as well, but I think Japanese RPGs at least tend to keep turn-based stuff more alive nowadays, or at least smaller projects. Like I think like there's that recently released game that came out like a month or two ago, Triangle Strategy, that's kind of like FF Tactics.
All right, so my thoughts are I think they're good, but clearly there are still some things that you can't do. It's not fully freeform in my opinion, since there's still JRPGs where if you go into a certain level or you go into a certain place you don't belong, and these enemies who are like level 1000 are like, what are you doing in here? You ain't supposed to be here. So the grind is, in my opinion, a lot more prevalent in some of these games, because I know I had to do it in order to progress in Grandia 1, because there was this pirate boss, and I for the life of me I could not beat him at that certain point without the progression sort of system. Because of that, I had to go back, beat up some lesser enemies, grind, and then I got to the point where I beat them. So there is those like sort of standstill moments and those real hardcore JRPGs, but there are some that you can just go in any order you want, and it's no problem. That's the ones that I like really prefer.
Yeah, that's definitely more prevalent with super bosses. Like, there's no way you can beat them on, vanilla, unless the game allows you to do it, like it's Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, I was gonna say, but I remember people were able to beat like Final Fantasy X the entire way without using the grid at all.
Oh well,
sphere grid.
That's pretty. Actually, no. I think 10 is a expert spear grid, but that's only if I remember correctly, that's kind of more for like New Game Plus if you like beating the game, because if you play it like first time, it's gonna be a while. It's gonna be a bumpy ride.
Yeah.
Actually, I was about to say, I know people manage to beat Lingering Will from Kingdom Hearts 2, like level 1. I don't know how, but people are able to do it. I mean, yeah, it can happen.
Yeah.
Is Final Fantasy X old enough that we can spoil stuff?
Like,
I'm the only one who was like
yeah.
supremely disappointed you couldn't sacrifice a party member to make them a summon.
Like, yeah,
the whole point was about them trying to break the tradition and end the cycle once and for all.
Before we go more,
though.
hold on. Before we go more, I will stress, if we're talking about our favorite games, there will be spoilers for these RPGs, so don't scream at us in the comment section. I do 100% allow it.
I would just say, like, keep it to a reasonable time frame. Don't spoil Elden Ring for people or something like that.
That's fair enough.
Heck,
Oh my god, the rage in the comments if someone did that. Somebody did that to me today, and I almost was like, where's your house? I'm gonna go punch you in the face.
Don't spoil Final Fantasy VII, please. Thank you.
Or know what happened there. If you played the original.
The game's like 25 years old by now.
Say that's older than 10, and I got a free reign on that one.
Yeah. But I know how 10 ends, so yeah. I know how it ends.
I literally just meant for anybody watching who might not have played it.
Yeah, oh yeah, true. Very true.
Are we done with this question though, by the way? We need to move on.
Yeah, I think we can move on. So, all right. What are your thoughts on Western influence RPGs and the systems they provide?
Oh, this is an easy one, honestly. I think most people can agree, and this also does technically apply to Eastern side of things. But more Western or Westernized games have better cinematics to their RPGs. But for example, Mass Effect, or on the Eastern side of things, games like Parasite Eve, that's very cinematic type RPG. And it's obviously more Western influence than anything else Square Enix has made at the time. So that's one thing I would say that the West definitely is king at. Now recent years though, both parties are doing a pretty good job at that. But I would say like, during like 6th, 7th gen, the West had it when it comes to cinematic RPGs.
Now, well, Uh, honestly, I feel like just depends on depending on who the dev is. I mean, honestly, it seems like the passion is not necessarily there as it once was, but also um, it could also be another variable, such as like maybe the publisher is digging their fingers into the pie a bit too much, and so they're kind of like overly controlling the dev's own project. Because when you see that indie devs, right? You know, you got your Itch.io, you got your Game Jolt. I'm sure people still upload on Newgrounds. Fact of the matter is, like, people, if you have indie devs that's basically pumping out RPG kind of games, whether it's your turn based, whether it's your text adventure, action RPG, whatever, you name it, and not combine it, but compare that to like, you know, triple A companies, their RPG games, and it seems like the indies have more passion behind it and less people trying to like go, oh, we want this, we want that, no, we don't want this, we want that, whatever. um that's a big issue that I see in the East. No, not the East, I'm sorry, the West.
What was it? Uh, uh, Brandon and Crowd pretty much, yeah, they pretty much had a great point at that. From Western RPGs were like got really big during like seventh gen, I brought in the chat Mass Effect. That was a big one. Like when Mass Effect 1 came out, that was like a huge deal because because it really put Bioware on the map. Like they're already on the map with Star Wars Kotsar, but that really truly made them like someone to look out for. And they also did Dragon Age, like the first Dragon Age game.
Yeah, I think
But
Dragon Age came out first. Yeah.
Yeah, they were already pretty well known for a while.
oh yeah, true. Yeah. Yeah. Mass Effect I think was the game that got people introduced
No,
to
I'm pretty sure Mass Effect was first. If you're talking about that.
2007 or 6.
2007, I think. Yeah, it was 2007. Yeah, but yeah, seventh gen. Like Bioware was pretty much like the talk of the town, and also Bethesda. Can't forget them because you got Skyrim and Fallout. Those games really like I remember like at school once, like everyone skipped school just to play Skyrim. Like no joke, everyone pretty much cut school just to play it. That's how like big of a deal it was back then.
It was one of the it was one of the biggest games of its time.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. Like, bruh, yeah.
Like everyone always memes about Resident Evil 4 being on everything, but I'm pretty sure Skyrim is on way more platforms at this point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. it's gonna they're gonna do that remake, man. Expect the Skyrim remake. Oh man. But no, I still what needs to be said on it. Yeah. I do like Western RPGs though. Like I said, I enjoyed the Mass Effect trilogy.
I mean, Mass Effect, the good ones, Horizon, which, I mean, people say that's not an RPG, but you know what? That's gonna be later.
Yeah,
I mean,
the whole
Oh yeah, I
debate.
forgot Horizon. Damn.
yeah,
I forgot.
the good ones that they have are good, but a lot of them are essentially getting very big. It's not just about linear RPGs anymore. It's about exploring the biggest and the most, like, I guess filled up open world. I want to say, like, just density is the main thing that I'm looking for. They're focusing on that, and it's not really a problem, but once again, it is going to fall into that relative niche where the game might be packed with a little bit too much substance, but personally I don't have a problem with it, because that's what RPGs tend to be, especially some of the JRPGs as well that happen to be like over 50 or 60 hours long.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with that because there's been a lot of when I think of RPG, I think of like at least a decently long, you know, game.
Mm.
And like you got some games out there that it's over so quick you can't it's uh what's the phrase? It's over before you could say RPG.
Short.
Yeah, like super short. And it's like it can be a little ridiculous, but then you have some games out there that's a bit too long for some people.
Yeah, it definitely
that-
needs to be a nice balance of what you're doing and the progressionism of the world itself and the characters to keep you invested into, am I going to try to get to level 1000 in this fucking game? Is it fun? And
And the story too.
yeah,
The story has to be engaging as well as the activities, because you're gonna have people going like, okay, so why should I finish this game? The story is not that engaging. I don't want to finish this.
Geez, for those games that are bragging like an 80-hour story, can you imagine being a game reviewer in this day and age where you have to get a review out in like a week?
You mean like 80 hours just
Well-
the story or completionist?
I've actually heard that is a huge issue for the reviewing community right now. Is so many games are promising like 75, 80, 100 plus hours that it's becoming this thing where game reviewers are just sitting there going like, what do you want us to fucking do about this? It's a job. I'm like, I
Well-
can't commit that amount of time to get a review out in like a week.
Well, I gotta
It's
ask though,
actually
like,
kind of an issue.
Yeah.
what's the context behind it too, though? Like, is it on completion, like 100%, 100%, or
I think it's
like
just-
finish the game? On top of that, too, like when do they get the copy of the game? Because that also will factor in the review process. Because if you get like within literally a week before launch, then that could be a problem though. But if it's 80 hours, then I'm pretty sure you could crank out like 5 days, and play the game.
Yeah, it just depends on the game. A lot of them have just been like, this is just like they hate to use the term first impressions, but like this is the first like 20 hours of it because this is a job. And ultimately, like even if you enjoy a game, if your job entails playing it, you generally don't want to just keep doing that in your off time.
Yeah, that's
Well-
you gotta lead to burnout as well.
The script writing you have to do, like you have to actually write all of it, so that takes time too. It's just a huge problem right now, as far as I know.
In fairness though, this has been an issue for since like gaming really got really big, and critics were like reviewing it, journalists were reviewing it, even back in the 80s when games were starting to become more longer, more grand. So I'm not entirely surprised that people, that journalists, critics, you name it, say that with the limited time that they have to come up with a summary review of everything in the game. I can definitely feel that, but again, it's I don't know. I guess I'm just numb to that kind of like that argument, because it's something we've seen with gaming throughout the years, throughout the last several decades. So I think in the end, it all goes down to who they work for. Oh no, I was just gonna finish it up by saying that the people that they work for need to add more time.
Yeah, I just want to interject a little bit quick, and then I guess we can move on. But I'm gonna say, if you're playing, I will say this has to be length dependent, because if you're playing like a 300-hour long RPG or some shit, I would say you need to get that game well in advance in order to review it, because that's a big time sink that they're asking for. And I know they rush because it's like, we got to get this up first. We got to be the first ones to do it. Therefore, this is the reason why. At the same time, I'm just like, you're not going to beat like a long ass RPG, whether it's like Western or Japanese, in like the span of maybe a day or so, it's gonna take like maybe even more than just that. Like it could be a week or something else. It depends on people's schedule, but everyone goes at their own pace as well, so they have to also take that into account. I know it is a big problem though. But going back to the Western, like I said, they're trying to make this dense and it could be a little bit overwhelming, but I would say as long as the content is interesting and not super repetitive, then I'm fine with it. But if it is, then it's just gonna feel like a slog to me, trying to get through all the side content or all these missions or all this grinding, doing the same thing over and over again. So a lot of repetition can sink in. I do like that, you know, they don't stonewall you all of the time, but it is definitely there for Western RPGs.
Mm-hmm. As for Western, I only had one other minor little critical niggle, I think the term would have to be, is just with Western RPGs, because a lot of them stem from classic stuff like D&D. Even D&D stems from classic stuff like the works of like J.R.R. Tolkien. So you'll always seem to come across, at least in fantasy, it never fails. You've got, you know, your foresty elves, you've got your orcs, you've got your goblins. And after a while, it gets weird that in Western fantasy, JRPGs, you start to wonder, like, you know, where's the fantasy in my fantasy? It starts to become so bogged down and kind of overused cliches. That's just kind of a beef that I've got. It's kind of minor, but that's why I like most of the like post-apocalyptic or future stuff for Westerns.
So Fallout.
And yeah, basically Fallout.
I guess we can move on to the next one then. That was
Yeah, well, I was gonna interject my thoughts real quick.
hurry up, Drill. We need to get to number 7.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I'm not a fan of like the recent Western RPGs like Valhalla, where they have like where it's like 80 plus hours and it feels bloated, and there's like there's like way too many fetch quests.
Honestly, that's a Ubisoft issue, in my honest opinion, because they do like the bloat their games and it leads honestly to nowhere. Just felt like you're doing a job versus actually enjoying the game.
Yeah, it's just busy. It's just you're just running errands for like 100 hours.
Yeah,
it's really fucking boring after a while.
Yeah, and funny how Skyrim had like the whole unlimited quest thing when it was just recycling them.
Yep. When repetition kicks in, it definitely will hurt the game if you're doing a Western RPG, but Ubisoft is like the worst offender, so I wouldn't even say that's a them problem at this point.
Yeah, all right.
Ubisoft made a Ubisoft game. They make kind of the same game a lot right now.
Yeah, it's a factory with them.
What is your favorite mechanic thus far that has been provided from role-playing games exclusively?
Shit. I don't necessarily have a favorite per se, because I honestly still meaning to list off. But the thing that comes to mind really would be the ATB system. It does literally change the flow of the combat, and of course there's variations with other games like with the MMORPGs.
Damn, it's actually a lot of them.
I actually have one.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's like with Octopath Traveler where you could power up your character to do more damage in exchange for losing. In exchange, I think your turn takes longer to come back. But I thought that's
you lose out on turn.
Yeah, but you can do multiple attacks or power up your attack.
And either that, or you can like skip a turn to further increase that attack as well.
Yeah,
it might be.
You know,
there's also the Bravely mechanic in Bravely Default.
Huh. That kind of reminds me like taking health, but you can attack again. That reminds me of the mini game that's in Forbidden West called Strike Machines. It's basically a game within a game, and it's kind of like chess, but kind of not like chess. And you can overcharge your strike piece to attack again, but it's -2 off of your health.
Yeah. Oh,
so I do like that kind of thing where like but you can do this, you'll be buff, overpowered, but there's also a negative effect out of that.
I just wanted to put one more thing. Like, since you guys
Okay.
were talking about FF10, the one I really liked was overdrive mode, and how like you could choose how your meter fills. Like if you take damage from the enemy, or if you dodge, or if you attack. I think like the most viable one is like if your teammate gets one shotted, then it fills it up right away.
Oh yeah, definitely. Overdrives are really fun in 10. I really like using them, but uh, I really like the social link system for Persona. I don't know why, but I always really like that system where basically what it is you have to like essentially build up your bonds up with everybody, which kind of goes to the theme of the game, and it does, and it usually does a pretty good job with it because not only you like get more insight on the characters you're doing the social link with, but you get really cool, unique stat bonuses. Like, I think, for example, if you do Kawakami's social link in Persona 5, you actually get a lot more free time and you can do whatever you like. Like, because you're sort of like restricted of what you can do, like, after you do a palace. But when you get that done, basically can do whatever. I really like that system a lot. And
Yeah,
also,
social link definitely does open up more possibilities for you in the Persona games, which is definitely something I welcome.
oh yeah, definitely. I really appreciate that. Like, I think one thing that's really cool is the baton pass mechanic. I really, um, it's funny because I'm playing FF10 and that game has like the ability to switch party members mid battle. I One of the things I like about baton pass is like you can pass it over to someone, but when you do that, that person gets like a buff. And if you keep doing that with, I think it's like depends on the character. You get like a buff with them, and it's really damn cool. I just really love doing it. Hopefully they kind of bring that system like Tom Pass system in the next Persona game. But yeah, that's all I have to really say on the matter.
My answer is quick. I'm gonna keep it old school. I like just stuff like criticals, status effects, ice affecting certain enemies, or maybe fire, or maybe they'll poison you, or you could poison them, or put them to sleep and just beat them up senseless. I like stuff like that in my RPGs with the mechanics involved. That's about it for me. I keep it very simple to the point there.
Well, contrarily, I've been sitting here trying to think of one specifically since you brought the question up. And I'm hung up on like three different things. One is the Legend of Dragoon edition system, which I think is exceedingly paramount to the game itself. Being able to build up each edition mode. When you complete it, you do bonus damage. You get stat bonuses the more of them you have completed. And like as you go through them, as soon as you perfect one, you unlock a new, more difficult one with different timings and different button inputs. And the same breath, Legend of Legaia has its art system where you would use different attacks together to make different special moves, almost like fighting game inputs, which is freaking nuts. Coming across a new one felt amazing if you didn't have like a strategy guide for it. And then man, Disgaea has geo dungeons, which like a lot of people hate them, but I think they're so cool. Every map you do in there is completely unique. They have you can use the stat bonus puzzles within the geo dungeon, or you can use the puzzle itself to make giant nukes to wipe the map. Couldn't pick one.
You just triggered something. In my mind. One thing
Is
that
it hating geo dungeons?
No. You're talking about stats. You're talking about stats and shit like that. Okay. I love the RPGs that have like different, whether it's different like full on outfits that you can wear, or gear, whether it's like boots, something for your chest, your legs, or your arms, and it gives you a buff against certain effects, or like close range combat boosts, what have you. I do love that, because that was one thing that I really loved about Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West, particularly Forbidden West, because I feel like I feel like the stats mattered more in Forbidden West than they did in Zero Dawn, which I'm glad that Guerrilla actually really utilized the elements compared to the first game. So I actually do like outfits that actually give you a buff against certain elements.
I'm surprised no one took out their giant Final Fantasy penis and put it on the table and said, "Hey, look,
What?
materia is a
Oh
mechanic
yeah,
I really like."
materia.
I like how that
God.
was token.
I heard that.
Damn.
Damn, son, but
Tolkien was
Yeah.
the
But
first
that
one to talk. You like that
materia
materia, Tolkien?
Get out of here.
You can't really. I mean, with FF10, you can build your character to be anything.
I kind of thought 9 did that system better, where different weapons gave you skills, and if you could max them out, they could be permanent.
9 does the best formula for the classics type of stuff, where you get the armor, you get your weapon type stuff. Like that, in my opinion, falls in line with the classic stuff more so than not the unorthodox, like in Final Fantasy 7, 8, 10. 12
Well, like
even.
9 did this thing kind of like the materia system, where you would get skills and stuff, but they were like hard fixed to weapons until you could like perfect that weapon and master it, and then you could remove the skill from the weapon and then put it on yourself. So it gave you this reason to use shitty weapons because they had fantastic skills on them.
You know, that literally happens in also in Remake 7, where you have to use this weapon, but you use a skill a lot, to unlock it permanently for your character.
9 did it first.
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah, so,
Brandon.
that's where it came from.
Actually, Brandon, I was about to bring, since you brought up, you know about the Gambit system from FF12?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd say you messed with the Gambit system. I played 12. I played a bit of it. I didn't really get too deep into Gambit, but I remember it.
Yeah, they did a much better job in the Zodiac versions. You can have 2 jobs. Like, you make the characters broken. It's
Oh
incredible.
yeah.
How much freedom you have in 12 Zodiac?
Yeah, we didn't get the Zodiac changes for a long time.
Yeah, well, I'm happy we got them.
Yeah, it was well worth the wait though. I still need to play 12 again because I have not touched that game in such a long time.
Yeah.
Has anybody played Legend of Dragoon? Or not Dragoon, Legend of Mana?
Oh, but I have heard of it.
I've
Okay,
heard of it, but
I
never played
played
it.
Secrets of Mana.
I've heard about it though, at least.
So I just remembered that Legend of Mana did something very similar with that weapon skill thing. But what it would do is you would have 2 buttons that would have these hot skills on them, and you could put them to like a dodge, a jump, like a strong attack, something like that. And the more you would use them, you could actually get those 2 skills together. Like if you had jump on 2 of them and you just use them enough, you could actually get a super jump that was just one big jump. And then you could swap that out and put a new skill on the other button. And the more you would combine them, the more high level skills you would get. And then on top of that, the game's 2-player. So it's, oh man, I can't believe I forgot that in my top 5.
There we go. All right, so Tolkien, did you have any opinion on this?
I think pretty much everybody said a lot of what I was thinking, but I mean, one of the things I really enjoy about RPGs is being able to create your character or add or change your weapons, your armor, your clothing to dictate like what bosses you go up against. It gives you freedom of customization that a lot of other games don't give you. Like I'll bring up multiple times, Elden Ring especially. There's a plethora of different ways you can build your character, pick weapons, your builds, which
Either
I think
be
is
broken in Elden Ring. There's no other option.
it's something RPGs have that are it's just so interesting and draws a lot of people into it. It was because of the customization.
All right, so number 8, I guess we can move on to that. So Brandon, read number 8, please.
Why?
Because you're black.
Damn. Whoa,
It's another day,
racism.
was it?
Racism in the call.
No, it's not.
It's just a joke.
As the RPGs offer up a wide variety of choices, No, they don't. That's good. How do you feel about when your actions dictate the course of the story with significant changes? Do you like it, or do you prefer more linear storytelling?
Easy
I
question.
like it. I like it when your choices actually matter. I
Yeah.
do like more depth into my way of storytelling when stuff you do actually matter. But if it, dare I say, if it's like something like Telltale games, for example, where you could do X, Y, and Z, but everything still leads up to the same outcome, or dare I say, Mass Effect 3, no matter what ending you choose, so it leads to the same outcome practically. What's the point? My
Yeah.
choices
agree.
definitely need to matter in the context of the story. Because if I shape the way how I could get a different ending just by simply doing X, Y, Z, and it actually matters, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, to be honest, because I mean, for me, like with choices that you choose that don't matter, if it's done right and it makes sense in terms of like what's happening in the story currently and it's done on purpose and it's not like, you know, as Deadpool once said, well, that's just lazy writing. As long as it's not done like that, it's fine. Um like whoa for Forbidden West, for example. Um there was a choice where you had to choose between two people that were fighting. You could do the obvious approach, which is, talk to both of them saying, like, come on, this is silly. Why can't you just put your differences aside, etc.? But they're both really hard headed. It fits with the story. And it makes you feel conflicted because you have to choose. The game wants you to choose between either one. So for me, when it does something like that, it has to make sense with the context of the story.
Silverado, Horizon is one of the games where honestly choices really don't matter because especially when you get the choice wheel, you can literally pick any choice in the wheel and the outcome
Yep.
will still be the same.
It just
So like that sucks.
So you could be a dickhead to everyone and nothing
Yeah,
changes.
yeah, you can literally
Yeah.
be a complete dick to someone and they will still work with you.
It doesn't really matter what you pick in
it,
Horizon. Like the story pretty much plays out the same well.
well,
Now, the one thing that they could have done is like certain characters will speak to you differently, but while still helping you, that would have been at least something though. But they don't. It's just literally same script for each choice you make. Now, there's a few exceptions to the rule though, but those exceptions do not completely change the outcome of your story.
Yeah. There was a quest section in Horizon 1 where like there is one guy you can fight. And I believe if you do his quest line, you get the option to either kill him or spare him. And if you spare him, he actually comes and helps you out in the final battle.
Yeah, that is
I
one
pretty much,
choice that fucked a lot of people over, but that is the one choice where it's like you can determine if he lives or dies.
yeah, you can kill him or not. I don't remember his name, but I think
nil,
if you, huh?
nil.
Okay, Nil. Okay, gotcha, Nil. But yeah, I pretty much killed Nil. I think there was a trophy in regards to him, but I can't remember. It was like keeping him alive or something. But yeah, um, I think one game that did choices pretty well was probably Fallout. Like, depending on your actions in the wasteland, they'll either okay, Fallout 4, for example. Like the waste, like the railroad and the institute, right? Well, oh no, the Brotherhood of Steel. You can pick to either help one out, and you can either, if you help the railroad out, they'll pretty much take on the Brotherhood of Steel, or if you take or if you work with the Brotherhood of Steel, they pretty much
Whoever
take.
you
Yeah,
whoever you work with, you kill the other two, basically.
yeah, basically, yeah. Sorry if I'm like tripping over my words, but yeah, it's been a while since I played Fallout 4, but I do remember like your choices
I
do
mean,
impact the world.
if you really want to talk about like scenarios like that, perfect
Mhm.
example is Black Ops 2. You try bum rushing through that game and you'll get the really shitty ending where Woods gets his throat slashed open by Menendez. Menendez goes to his sister's grave, digs up her grave, pours gasoline over him, sets himself on fire. Good times.
You know, RPG that really did choices fantastically. Fable. Fable was where you, if you wanted to be a menace to society and do all these like weird things and burn people's chickens and stuff like that, you could do it. And you start getting like more corrupted over time. Whereas if you're good-willed and there's that morality system where if you help out people and go around and the people will be cheering your name, you'll be a hero in their eyes. So I think that system is really great because once the player starts affecting the world and they start reacting to you, whether they're hostile or whether they're peaceful to you, then it shows that something is going on. You're doing something, your actions do indeed matter.
I have one for you.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. No, when you're talking about the importance of choices and how it affects your game, Elden Ring is a perfect example of that.
You're gonna be naming this game all night.
You hush. I've played a lot of RPG games, and this one in particular, as I've stated numerous times, is going to probably be my favorite for a while because every choice you make regarding every NPC you meet affects how the game will go later on down the road. If you make a wrong choice or skip over a quest and don't do it, then it affects not only meeting that same NPC or even other NPCs along the way, but it's going to change how your ending is as well. And there's very few options to change how your ending goes. But
game has got such a curse with everybody I run into. We're like, I like you, but I want your armor.
I mean, you can always get the armor at some point, though. But even still, to follow on Token's point, though, like Elden Ring is kind of like a script. If you follow the script properly, you will reap all the benefits. But if you diverge it just for a little bit, though, you can't mess up a potential quest line that could lead to one particular ending. The important one, very very important one. Or you miss a good set of armor or magic, whatever. So like Elden Ring really rewards you for following the script properly.
Yeah.
I mean,
for the same end on the choices matter. If you're gonna do that, in my personal opinion, you better have a short story because if you're going to make multiple endings like that, you need to be able to grip my attention for a second playthrough of your giant 80-hour game. And as far as it's funny, the Fable thing got brought up, and that's actually one of the games I have the biggest gripe with, because you don't really get, in my personal opinion, and this is probably going to be a minority opinion, you don't get to play a role the way you would play it. You either have to play one of two exceedingly binary characters. You're either absolute asshole or absolute saint. So you don't really get to be like, this is what I would do in this situation, or this is what I think would be a good idea. You just look at two options, and it's like gaming a BuzzFeed quiz. You just go like, that's the bad choice. I'm going to do that for the bad ending. And you just stack them all like a deck of cards, and then you play it again, and you do all the ones for the good ending. And it just feels, in my personal opinion, it feels like a padded way to make your game twice as long.
I get what you're saying, but I mean, in terms of like stuff like neutral and sort of having those options, I'm going to be bad, I'm going to be good. Like some games just really rarely have that option. There are games that are RPGs that have it though, where you can just go around and you really can do whatever you want, but it's just a minority at this rate.
I was going to say, I think the perfect example of that is the Way of the Samurai series. Because you can play that game in like, the story takes maybe an hour, but it's got about 30-something endings, and all of your choices have pretty damning consequences to them usually.
That is cool though.
Like you kill one person and this person dies like that.
Like if you kill this one person, like early in the story, all of a sudden you're wanted for murder, and the rest of the story you just you have this complete side story that has nothing to do with the regular plot now. It's one of like this chest filled with endings, and you would have had no reason to do that. You just did it because you felt like being a dick, and now you get to live like one solid day as a dick, and here's what happens.
Well, I mean, it could be worse. It could be ending where you choose to kill somebody, and then you got the ending where that person had a child who ends up killing you.
In that game, that's legit one of the endings. Like,
Wait, really?
That game has like 50 endings.
Wait,
one of them is just like
I
you
was
kill
thinking
like one of them is like you go to the blacksmith because your sword broke. You can't pay. You didn't know that going into it, so you have to take
Wait.
your sword and run, and he hunts you the rest of the game. And he
Well,
kicks your ass.
That's actually fucking awesome.
I was making a Last of Us 2 reference.
Well, you have it in that game.
I did not know
Boom.
that.
Way of the Samurai. Go play it. It's freaking amazing.
I didn't know that was one of the
Should
endings
play
for
Web
that.
Samurai 3.
Yeah, that one's the best, easily.
Shit.
My favorite was crafting one godly little dagger and going through the entire game with my stupid fucking murder butter.
All right, well, why don't we reference Last of Us on every podcast? We have to move on to the next question.
Well, I wanted to I at least wanted to put in like my thoughts really quick.
Go ahead.
Personally, I'm fine with both. Although, if I do like it when they at least give you the option of different endings or paths. Like recently, Triangle Strategy gives you like 3 different paths or endings with unique final bosses. I thought that was cool.
Oh, I also like when they give you differing final bosses as well, because that just shows that like you just don't know what's around the next corner when you make that choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
real quick before we move on to the next question. Finally, I was gonna bring up talking about like the different endings and everything like that, and choices matter. It kind of not matters. It kind of reminds me of Red Redemption 2, because depending on how if you're an outlaw or if you're a hero in the eyes of the pedestrians, their interactions with you are different, and the shops are either more expensive or cheaper. And also the endings too. So,
Oh God, this question's gonna take forever. Let's see it right now. Number 9. Okay, I'll read this off. So there was a big gaming argument in the community about someone not classifying a game with RPG elements as role-playing games. For example, this includes games like third-person shooters having a stat system, but the central focus is on open world or third-person shooting mechanics. Do you agree that games with RPG elements shouldn't be classified as RPGs?
Oh, so you're going for the real hot takes here.
Yeah.
That's hard to say, to be
It
honest.
depends on what it is, though. But yes, no, just because it had something that's you can see in an RPG doesn't make it an RPG. You know, I'm actually going to use Vanquish for example. Yeah, you can level up your gun up to X amount of times depending on the gun, right? But that doesn't necessarily make it an RPG. It's just you can increase the effectiveness of your gun.
Yeah, same with Village.
Yeah, and now Resident Evil does count in that regard too. And like look at say I don't know God of War. God of War does have like a loot type system. Well, I won't say loot, more like armor and stats though, but it doesn't effectively make it like a completely an RPG either because one players doesn't level up or anything along those lines. Just change the effectiveness of Kratos. Doesn't completely rely on the aspect of an RPG. Now, granted, though, that's debatable, though. Personally, I don't see it as an RPG, though, but others could argue defect otherwise, so which, up to you. But I'm open for either it being.
So here's the thing. I personally think that when it comes to RPG elements and all the stuff and trying to figure out if a game is RPG, I do agree. When it comes to a stat system, it doesn't necessarily make the game an RPG. So he used GTA as an example, and I agree. That's an open world sort of crime drama, third-person shooter where you can level up your character, yes, but traditional like RPG elements outside of the stat system is nothing more than just that. However, that being said, if a game has multiple RPG elements, then you possibly could classify it as an RPG, for example, Horizon. So they were using Horizon in the same sentence, and I'm like, you level up your character, you get differing weapons, you go through dungeons, you fight differing bosses that have also leveling systems behind them as well, because large ass health bars and certain things affect them. Status
And
effects, yeah, and loot. So it has so many RPG elements that you could necessarily say that. I feel like once it goes beyond that, then it's okay. But if it's just like one small singular thing and the rest of the game is super different, then that's where comparisons get a little bit murky.
I was about to say, but yeah, like what Brand Renegade said, I think it varies on the game. Like, I know there's like this common thing where people think if Yakuza is an RPG, and really hard to say because the older games, like you had like gear systems, like Yakuza 0 through 6, like you had like a gear system, and granted, Kamurocho was kind of like it was kind of like an RPG in town, somewhat. You know, you could visit shops and the like, but isn't an RPG. It's more of like a beat 'em up with it's more heavy on like the beat 'em up stuff.
I would say it's more is a beat 'em up as its main focus stuff, but it does have RPG elements that as a backdrop, so more like RPG light, you know, because
Yeah.
it is there, especially in the later titles. So it's definitely there, but
Oh yeah,
it's
definitely.
like
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Brennan. Yeah, I haven't played Yakuza 7 yet, but because I know that's like I know that game is like a turn-based game, but but that's not besides the point. But yeah, like I said, it varies on the game.
Anyone else want to sort of add their 2 cents on this debate?
I don't know. My opinion is fucking covered in
I mean,
barbs.
if it changes
so-
your the way I look at it is if I feel like it's classified as an RPG if it significantly changes your character or acts as like a class system. I mean, I think Borderlands has like a skill tree that significantly changes your abilities.
I remember this argument partially, but I think they were bringing up The Witcher 3 as an argument because he was kind of saying that, well, role-playing games are essentially about roles. So it is about your, creativity, your freedom of your own personal avatar and how you craft them into the world. If you don't have that, it's not an RPG. And the Witcher example was, well, you play as, Geralt the Witcher. He's already established character. He already has a script to him. And you could do all these multiple things in The Witcher that could be classified as an RPG. So if you're playing as a pre-established avatar and there's a lot of role-playing elements to it, would you classify it as an RPG? And I don't know if he responded to that answer, but that's kind of...
First off, if you pick the third game and your complaint is that they're an established character, you already like sealed your fate. Talk about Witcher 1 if you want him to be unestablished.
Yes.
But never mind that for a second, dude. Like, have you played any Final Fantasy game? You always play as a pre-established character, and you still have to build your character up to be whatever the context of the game is.
Yeah.
Like, hello. Like, so yeah, it's still an RPG at the end of the day. Now, it doesn't need to be a custom avatar or whatever.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's just Cloud's name in the classic games. You could change his name to Phil, and maybe he thinks, because I could play as Phil with this anime spiky hair, he's automatically my character now, and I could change the role. So call him John or call him something else. I don't know. Call him Ass. About that.
But what was it? I know in like Nier you play as the main characters. You can basically name the main character anything you want. Like same with the older FF games. Like I pretty much just used Kojima as my name for my character Nier Replicant.
Because like canonically his name is Nier.
Yeah, canonically his name is Nier.
And depending on which version of the game you get, you can play as a big burly man or a little whippy boy.
Whoa.
Replicant version, boy. It's
well, yeah, the original one. If you played like the US version, you could just play as big friggin' buff old man Nier.
Yeah, I'm at least kind of glad the remaster lets you play him. Well, sort of. It's weird how it works.
Spoilers.
Oh yeah, my bad.
No, it's allowed. He's fucking with you.
Yeah, but like, yeah, it's kind of weird. But I guess you technically could play as him somewhat. It's yeah, but I still it needs to be said.
All right. Well, who else is left? Because I'm just. All right, fuck it. I'll just go. My main issue in general is just that I personally I just hate the term role playing game because it throws out these weird preconceptions that what somebody considers to be a role playing game has nothing to do with whether you are or aren't playing a role. It usually does the thing be turn based, yes or no. Does it have stats, yes or no? Like, can you make choices, yes or no? None of these things have anything to do with whether you're playing a role. So people argue about subgenres like they define an entire main genre. Anybody that picks an RPG that they consider to be like a hardcore RPG, like this is definitely one. I guarantee you I can point to any other game, not any other, but I can anyone they pick, I can point to another game that's not an RPG and just go, "You mean like this?" And then they'll have to sit there and go, no. Like, is it turn-based? Yes. Okay, that's what makes an RPG. So are you saying that like old tactics games with no like Romance of the Three Kingdoms, is that an RPG where you control a country and you like throw armies around and do stuff? Not really. Are you playing the role of like an emperor? Yeah. But most people would argue it's not a role-playing game. Or like the original like Kessen games. Are they RPGs? I don't know.
It doesn't help that role playing genre has changed consistently for 20 years. Especially during its earlier days during the late 80s and 90s.
Mhm.
So yeah, like so it's realistically kind of hard to judge what you could consider an RPG though. But I think going by I guess the hive mind though, I think you could realistically could call out what could be considered an RPG considering the common tropes and norms such as stats, equipment base or whatever.
For argument's sake, you threw stats out as one of the things that definitely makes a game an RPG. Like the ability to increase and decrease stats and make your own character and stuff like that.
Yeah, depending on the game.
Like I'm not calling you out. I'm just like I said, I can do this with like any of the tropes.
Yeah.
So Tony Hawk's
I
Pro
agree.
Skater 2 is considered an RPG because you can make
somebody
your own
actually
character.
made that argument. No lie, somebody actually made that argument though, but I think he was joking unironically, and then that kind of spiraled into a whole debate.
Like
Yeah.
for that same thing, that's like when people say like what is and is not metal. And I hate that argument because metal is filled with subgenres.
Yeah, like
just
copper,
because
steel.
you like death metal or something does not mean that like hair metal from the 80s isn't also metal. I've heard like a cappella metal. I've heard operatic metal. So like an RPG in itself, you can't like throw a hard yes or no on any game.
Once again, there's different forms
Yeah.
of
Right.
what it, that's the whole thing. That's why I hate people such as the people on Twitter that like to gatekeep genres because it's annoying, it's draining. Nobody appreciates gatekeepers.
So here's the thing. You can even I'm gonna let you go next, Brendan. But even Western RPGs and Japanese RPGs, you could even consider those as subgenres being developed by like two different types of minds. I think that people say this and say, well, this is what is or isn't an RPG, or this can't be turn-based, or that can't be action. It's all made to be condescending. Like, it's nothing ever good that spawns from a conversation like that, which is probably why it blew up so negatively in the first place.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think generally, if you're going to sit there and tell somebody they're wrong about something that's this open, I think you're already on the wrong side of the argument because like it's the same thing where if you work really hard at it and you just want to be a jerk, you could sit there, dig your heels in, and claim that Metal Gear is a survival horror game because you have limited ammo and you have limited health items and crap like that. And I'm like, yes and no. Like, come on.
I bet. We got a discussion right now. Is it Metal Gear 3 a survival horror game? And like, yes.
Oh god.
Sure, why not?
Dude,
It's full of creepy, unnerving junk. It's got health that you have to manage. It has limited ammo resources. It has like respawning enemies. Sure, why not?
But guys, we gotta remember, Metal Gear Solid 3 is a turn-based RPG.
Yes.
Why not? I'll buy it.
I'll use an RPG. Move forward one time, see an enemy, blast them, call it a day. But
Exactly.
Well, it was a turn-based until the remake. Now it's live action.
Actually, someone actually did say MGS3 was a turn-based RPG, and he got like doc ratio down on Twitter.
Look, I put it like this: if you classify the game like this in your own personal opinion, fine, but you're going to find people who either A, don't agree with it, or B, they have their own classification as to what it is, what it means to them, and how the subgenres are expanded from there. There's like differing types of role-playing games, or what people would consider as these games, and the type of systems that are built within it that has that sort of expectation as well. So it's so vast that I don't believe it could be corralled into like one singular thing, because it's hard to do, and if you try to do it, it just comes off as condescending.
To the same people who say that such and such is not an RPG, I would just look right back at them and go, your favorite game's not an RPG because there's no dice in it.
All right, bet.
Oh, Jesus Christ. As much as it gives me a headache, I guess we can move on to number 10, so we can go to grinding. How do you guys feel about grinding in RPGs? Beneficial or no?
I love grinding, but so long as it actually benefits me and not necessarily chore. Grinding can need to be in chore anyway. But
I don't really mind
it's not
it too much.
superficial grinding.
Here's my take on it. I don't mind grinding as long as it's fun. Like it's the gameplay loop is really fun, and you can kind of get behind. The grinding actually amounts to something. Like, say you're grinding to fight a super boss. Like, I don't mind stuff like that, because heck, a lot of the games I play, I tend to like just fight a ton of enemies all day long and just grind till I get like a really good level. And if you like putting the work into it, it definitely can pay off, because like I said before, if you need to beat that boss and you grind, yeah, you can beat the boss if you like, get the experience from the grinding. Yeah, pretty much all I gotta really say on that one. Sorry if I was tripping over my words a bit, but
Yeah,
Honestly,
you're fine.
Honestly, grinding is just a necessary evil. You're gonna have to grind at some point if the game requires it.
Unless you're good enough to just be able to do it without it. I know some people that can do it.
It's possible. It's possible, but it's not recommended, because
If fucking Brandon tell Andre to go sleep, I heard that.
Damn.
But honestly,
I'm not that tired.
Yeah,
I'm not that tired. Look, I am not that tired. I can stay on for as long as we need to.
honestly, I kind of don't mind grinding, because there's been a lot of RPGs I've been playing on the Switch, so it helps pass the time while I just watch a movie or something.
Okay, so there's two types of grinding in my opinion. There's the artificial grind, where it takes forever. They keep stonewalling you, and it just feels anti-progression. And then there's the other type of grinding, where it's actually fundamental. You get your differing weapons from being strong enough. It feels really balanced, and it feels rewarding. So it's two types. You're gonna hate one and not like the other. And it's just a common thread at this point. I don't mind grinding for things where it feels like I'm actually doing something, as opposed to, well, I gotta get to level fucking 100 before I get here, and they keep stonewalling me to death, and I don't have freedom, and the game is not fun. So it could fall into two types of ranges. And me personally, I just like feeling like a god after I gotten everything. And I like certain things that are done, where there's certain games out there that tells you, hey, even if you're strong, the enemies get stronger, so it's not a good idea to over level yourself in the first place. But anyone else on grinding, Tolkien?
On grinding, I'm trying to think. I'm pro grinding if it's in the sense of preventing me from soft locking. I've played a few games that don't let you grind, and every once in a while you can just run into a bit where it goes, and your play is over. Start over again. The one that crosses my mind is like Tactics Ogre, which is not a game that lets you grind. You just do like stages, and then you do the next one, and you either leveled up properly or you didn't. And you can just absolutely lose your run and have to start over from the beginning if you didn't like main one or two people and then keep everybody else about on the same level. If you prioritize a bunch of people and one of them just gets insta killed, you start over. So in situations like that, I'm good with grinding if you can at least get somebody back up. And XCOM got brought up earlier, so the same thing happens if your team gets murdered, and then you basically have a bunch of toddlers and soiled underpants that have to go out there and fight aliens. Just restart at that point, because you're not going to grind your way out of that hole. So I'm pro grinding in that sense, but if the game doesn't need it, great.
I mean, I'm gonna keep mine kind of like relatively short and simple. I mean, I like grinding to where the levels actually matter, not like some of these games where it's like oh yeah, you just kill this amount of enemies, you do these side quests here and there, and like you're like level 5, and then you go against a level 1, level 2 enemy, and like somehow you just like got like instantly, and it's like
That's how I felt with God of War, strangely enough, because they
that's
technically do have a level system.
and that's I hate games that do that do not make no sense whatsoever. That's
Oh,
one of my biggest gripes. Prefer games where leveling your character is worth it, because it makes it feel like, okay, I did all those side quests, I killed groups of enemies for my ass to get handed to me by someone that's like 10 levels below me.
I had
I'm like, I hate shit like that.
I had the worst grinding experience on God of War, ironically 2018, because I think it was you could see the enemies sort of level bars and see how strong they are. So there was this one boat that I had to sort of go over and get like epic gear or some shit over there, and I just remember trying to go over there and getting skull fucked each and every single time until I had to get to like level 9 to defeat those enemies, and I was like only
Or are you going for a completionist?
yeah, I was trying to get the platinum trophy, and I was only 1 or 2 levels below them. I was like, come the fuck on, man. I'm like level 8 at this point, and I still have to be level 9 to do some sort of significant damage to these guys. Come on. But I eventually defeated them.
That shit
It
was
was
annoying.
worse. It's worse on gaming God of War because they can literally buff themselves up above your level and obviously wreck your shit.
I think I was like level 8 when I fought like a level 9. He literally killed me in like 3 hits. I was like, what the fuck, game?
That's also an example of artificially injecting like RPG like mechanics inside your game. It doesn't completely work because now, at a certain point too, though, the game kind of gets one-sided, which is not how God of War should be. But then again, though, God of War always had an issue with difficulty anyway on higher mode. So
Good luck on that chaos
tradition.
mode. Being 3-shotted was nice.
I do like the game, but the RPG mechanics just don't lend themselves well to the action combat.
Yeah, I feel like they should have just kept it more aligned with the first 3 games. But that's another story.
Yeah,
we should move on.
Yeah, let's just say artificial leveling up of the enemies and you just don't know what's going on. It's pretty bad. But here's a fun question. So, number 11, Mr. Cryo, you want to read that off?
No.
What question? 11?
Yep, it's about dungeons.
Dungeons, okay. How do you feel about exploring dungeons in a role-playing game? Is it fun, or can you live without them? Okay, so to answer the own question that I asked everyone, To be honest, it depends. Like, does it benefit me or my character? Does it help in any way? Is it a good place to like grind out levels constantly? Get loot? What about the loot? And everything like that. There's a lot of variables with this.
But hold on, I gotta ask this though. What type of dungeon, or in particular, is it in the context of this question? Because let's say you know the games Darksiders. Every area you go to is a dungeon, so dungeons are mandatory. Whereas, like say in Final Fantasy 15, for example, you have side dungeons that require that
I'm
you
guessing
go and get some weapons in. Like,
I'm guessing
what's
probably
the
like
answer here?
side dungeons. I'm
Yes.
guessing dungeons that's not part of the main story.
Yeah, because if the whole game is like a damn dungeon, then we get at that point they classify it as a dungeon crawler, right? So it's like that's the core mechanic of the game. I guess if people want to talk about that later, but it's just the optional side. Hey, this is little crevice that I need to go down and beat up all these enemies, and it's optional.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean because it's the same. You might as well say that the cauldrons and Horizon, those are pretty much dungeons in a sense. They're not part of the main story. It's optional if you want to do the cauldron. You don't have to do all of them, but I just do them so that way I could override the machines. So that way I could have someone on my side as a temporary teammate or a permanent teammate, such as if it's a machine I can ride, use as transport. So, for me, yeah, I would have to say it depends on if it's gonna benefit me. So, yeah.
For me, honestly, I actually love dungeons. Like that's one of the biggest things I love doing. Like if that's dungeon, I'm doing it. Right now, if it's like it come off as like a time waster, like you do this big ass dungeon that leads to butt fucking nowhere, and you only get like on a fucking silver crystal or whatever, then yeah, I'll be upset because that was legit wasting my time. I need to be rewarded for my time for doing these dungeons, right? But aside from that, though, I love doing them. They're like honestly one of my favorite activities to do, mandatory or not.
Yeah, I
I'm
like
doing
that.
dungeon crawlers.
Yeah, I don't mind dungeons. I enjoy doing them. Like, what was it? But if the dungeon's like really long and everything ends, like, I'll put it this way: if you get like really good rewards, have a really long dungeon, and like, then it makes the journey worth it. That's just how I feel. But if it's the other way around, then nah. I don't like dungeons that like drag out super long and you don't get anything good in return, or it's just, or really doesn't make sense from a story point of view. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like it when it's just super long and it has no end and there's all the enemies down there. I mean, I do like the challenge, don't get me wrong, because I like the idea that you're delving into something unknown and you don't know what boss is down there, what enemies are down there, so it leaves you at a surprise because you're just going in blind. But at the same time, like other people said, just even if you run into a situation, because there's RPGs that had this before where it's like you go down to some dungeons and then ain't shit down there. It's like nothing of value down there. You might find a couple of potions and that's it. Like I kind of felt some of that with some of the dungeons in Dark Cloud, because I'm like, yo, they're not giving me anything. Like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, because that's why with like Horizon, there's like different little chests hidden and throughout the cauldrons.
Mhm.
And it's not like necessarily like a waste of time, considering like you could potentially get some materials that you needed. Hell, I believe some of the bigger ones, one of the legendary loots there is you could get like potions as well. So and like also like like what you said, some dungeons are a bit too long. That was my criticism with Zero Dawn's cauldron. Some of them was like, it felt like it was taken a bit too long just to get to the core of the cauldron, like the ending to that dungeon. So that's why I'm glad with like Forbidden West, they actually shortened the time that it would take to complete the cauldron.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that. If you get something cool or if it's nice down there, when sometimes it's usually not. It's
Sometimes the site is even worth it. Sometimes just being down there and just looking at the site of it, sometimes it can be worth it.
Yep, visually stimulating as well. But did anyone have any other ideas on like cauldrons or dungeons or anything like that?
So far, peak dungeon exploring for me has still been the ruins under Catalox Island and Mega Man Legends. You go down there for a number of reasons, but as you keep exploring them, you can find unique items that they're unique in the sense that there's only one of them in the whole game, and you need them to make cool side weapons. As you make those side weapons, they allow you to blow open new walls that make fast travel throughout the island. Like, you have to go down there, but it becomes more fun to explore it.
Right. Because talking about ruins in Forbidden West, underwater, there's ruins, and there's these crystals that you have to get if you want to upgrade your legendary armor or your gold armor or your purple armor. I just call it by its like color. I think it's orange actually, like your orange colored armor, or your legendary purple kind of armor, and you need these crystals that you can only find like randomly on the map that's not underwater. And there's only like a few spots, but majority of them are actually in ruins underwater. And just going down there underwater, once you get the rebreather so you don't have to worry about like losing oxygen, it's breathtaking. It's like worth going down there in the ruins. I like aesthetics like that. I'm a sucker for them.
Anyone else on them dungeons before I ask my 2 side questions?
No, you're up. Hurry up.
Hi.
Alright.
I was gonna say something though.
Good.
Oh man, look at the time. Let's go, Renegade.
It's time to hit that dusty old trail.
Damn.
But I don't mind dungeons too much as long as they're not a freaking maze like Star Ocean 3. Like, I couldn't complete those without having a guide because they were so fucking confusing. But yeah, and that was part of the main game.
You know what? I think my side question segues perfectly into this. This is a small one, and then we'll get to the larger one. So the first one is, what do you think of games where the entire game is a dungeon crawler, like from top to bottom?
I mean, that is a genre, so I mean, I'm not.
I mean, it has its fans.
Yeah.
Plus, not to mention, though, technically speaking, though, again, like games like Darksiders or whatever, most of the game is literally just going to dungeon. So, I mean, I'm not bothered by it. So long as the game is fun, I really don't give a shit.
Yeah, same. Same with Brandon, honestly. He pretty much answered my question.
Since you're mostly just exploring dungeons, though, I guess my perspective is the game has to be like varied and fun and offers up differing dungeons if you're exploring them 24/7. So how fun does it need to be in order to avoid the repetition?
Let it die. Basically that. The Tower of Barbs is awesome. It's just one giant dungeon with multiple floors that changes as the week goes on. And you get different safe house locations as you go. The thing you asked, that's the best example I've seen of it.
Oh, okay.
About a Chrysler building, that's one giant dungeon. You go to multiple floors.
Oh, fucking Parasite Eve. I need to get to that point because people keep saying the Chrysler building is a very interesting part of the game once you finally complete it.
It's 100 floors, and it's a post-game thing.
I mean, I guess this is legit the rule of thumb when it comes to any kind of game. Make it engaging. Make it worth it worth going through all of it. Yeah, like I know Mojang. I know they did Minecraft Dungeons, which is technically a dungeon crawler in a sense.
I want to. It just reminds me of that other game. I'm not even sure if it has like RPG mechanics or not, but I know Grounded has like just all these giant caves and fucking spiders, and I always had some sort of morbid curiosity to play it. But I have the other question, which is a mechanic based question. So skill trees, what do you guys think of those? Are they good, bad, worth it?
I'm
mean,
fine with
I don't
them
mind
in
them.
concept, but if
Yeah.
they don't serve a good purpose, or like the best skills are kind of garbage to get, good God, I mean.
I don't mind skill trees as long as they're properly utilized well. Like I mentioned, Final Fantasy X. Like I do really like the sphere grid system. It was a little confusing at first initially, but I feel like the more I started playing the game, I started to get an idea with it, and I do kind of like it. Like you have to know which points you want to put in for like what certain skills, and I do really like that kind of mechanic. Because you actually do get points pretty easily if you like just grind like normal, and yeah, you'll be able to get all the abilities you need.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, as long as the skill tree doesn't play the game for you.
Oh yeah,
better
dude,
yet-
absolutely, yeah.
Or better yet, it doesn't serve a purpose. Like in Ubisoft games, the recent
Oh
titles.
god,
Ugh.
it got so bad with Ubisoft games that like you have to literally buy XP boosters just to level up in those games. It's just
Yeah,
ridiculous.
in a single
my
player
God.
game, like that's just
Like what? Then what's the point of grinding? You know, it's just really
Yeah,
like really
literally.
dumb.
They actually did got in trouble with this. They literally, and I think it was Odyssey. They nerfed the XP game to get to force you to get these boosters to turn on the XP gain rate
And-
to normal.
And it didn't matter if you were playing the game on the hardest difficulty either.
Yeah, they did in Valhalla too, which is really scummy. I hate when games do shit like this. Like, oh well, you have to buy these microtransactions to level up. Just
I'll never understand why they made Assassin's Creed stat based anyway. In what world does knife and throat end up being like, aha, you've only nicked my health bar, peasant? Like, what?
bro,
It's Monty Python. Monty
Cujo, it's
Python's Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
Cujo,
honestly
it's
though,
like oh, go on.
I was like,
Just put a
it started with like Syndicate though. I do like Syndicate; it's a really good game. But that was the beginning of technically the end, if you want to look at it that way though. Origins though, and Onwards definitely just made it worse. But the worst example of it so far, I will say, is honestly what's the recent one, Valhalla. And sadly, you can't turn it off. Unlike in what was it, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, you can't turn off the stats. So, but though apparently you can turn off the quick time event for the Hidden Blade for Valhalla, so there's that. But I'm not sure.
I don't. I just want to go real quick. I don't like it when there's a skill tree based system and you have to sort of program these random nodes that basically don't do anything in order to progress your character. I kind of don't like that. It's just like, give me some incentive to rank up, whether it's like, hey, level 5, more poison or more damage to enemies, and then when I get to the big unlock, it'll be something that's worth it, whether it's unlocking like a flying drop kick or some German suplex or something of that effect. I want to feel accomplished while in the middle of trying to grind through all these node points, and I hate it when they don't give me anything for putting something in an empty slot.
Or hear me out, not being able to complete all available skill tree categories even after you hit max level. That messes with my OCD so much. I'm like I got like 5-6 more options here. Can I have enough skill points so I can actually get this? And it's like, haha, no.
They do
New Game Plus.
Please, sir.
Yeah.
Can I have some more?
More.
That's
I
pretty
need some
much
more skill points.
pretty much do everything in the game, side quests, obviously the main story, little bits of like here they're kicking enemies' asses and everything like that. Get max level, and then suddenly have no more skill points, and I'm like, finally, my work here is done. I completed everything in the game, and then I see there's like 4 or 5 slots that I haven't purchased yet. I'm like, wait, huh? What?
Nanny?
You know what game you might absolutely love then? There is it's a very obscure game. It's called Alpha Protocol. You can't, unlike a standard run of the game, you can't max out your skill trees. There's like a hidden difficulty level you have to get by going on. You get like X amount of skills to start with normally, or you can pick the recruit option, in which you get like none, and it becomes insanely difficult. But if you can beat it on recruit, you unlock veteran mode, which gives you a shit ton to start with because you've earned it. And it's, I think, the only way you can beat the game with full skill trees. And I was even going to say I hated skill trees until I remembered that game exists. Speaking of like your choices matter, that game has that out the ass. Your choices matter so much in that game. The story and plot change depending on like what order you do things in. If you go to like certain places before talking to certain people, they'll get pissed off at you. If you rough a guy up in one level, the security gets beefed up in the next one. That game is awesome.
You talk shit to somebody, you end up waking up the next day, you step on freaking Legos.
Boom, all of a sudden, broken foot.
Or better yet, you steal someone's lunch and next thing you know, they poison your drink.
Whoa! Jesus Christ, man.
Bruh, you imagine they do something like that? You just take someone's food and then you see some water and you're like, oh, I'm thirsty. You look, I don't feel so good, and you just fall over dead.
Well, I mean,
it's like, kind of close. Like, there's a mission you can do where you have to run into a guy. You can either like beat him up, you can shoot him, you can escort him out of a dangerous area. You can do a bunch of different stuff. And there's another level later that, depending on what you do to that guy, will heavily influence that level. But you can also just do that level before you even run into him. That game is one of the most open-ended games I think I've played in a long time. But at the same time, it came out on like PS3, and it kind of shows that they bit off a little more than they could chew. There are some characters that you can absolutely break their brain on accident, depending on just what you've done.
ooh.
It's ambitious and it's really cool. For anybody watching, if you haven't played it, check it out. It doesn't handle like a turn-based RPG. It handles almost like Metal Gear-ish, but you get stat-based stuff. So like headshots are headshots, but you still get like shaky hands until you get comfortable with like handguns and rifles.
Damn. I'm sure people are gonna look back at this podcast with all these interesting things brought up and be like, damn, they never mentioned Deus Ex.
I was gonna actually say
yeah,
it's like Metal
Deus
Gear,
Ex.
but actually it's more like Deus Ex than anything else.
Yeah. I had to point that up in there because I was like,
How dare you? I was unholstering that one as I just realized it, and you're like, Deus Ex, by the way. I'm like,
Yeah, like it's too late to mention it. I was like, dang, I had a brain fart.
look, for all the things involved, I love Human Revolution. I think it was a great game. Just going around and beating up like 30 cops and dragging their bodies to like the stairs. That was awesome.
Oh yeah.
And I never played. We are on, hold on, because we got a little sidetrack. We're on the last question actually. So we just got a little off topic, but that's okay. Anyway, I guess we can move on to the last question. So what makes a role-playing game bad in your eyes? Cite some reasons that could break the formula. Artificial difficulty?
Artificial difficulty, artificial grinding, pointless objectives, side quests, see what else they had.
RNG. That's another one.
Yeah, bad RNG. Yeah, stuff like that can actually make or break your RPG.
Oh,
Yeah.
bad RNG.
And also really bad bugs, because especially.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Cyberpunk?
I would say the story and difficulty for me is a big thing.
You know what, it's interesting you say that because I think someone on another podcast, he mentioned that the story and RPGs meant a lot to him. So he said if I'm going to commit to like 100 hours of like gameplay or whatever, they need to put it all on the table with these characters. And make me go through it. And of course, I mean, I always put gameplay as top dog, but I do get that sentiment of, hey, I gotta, for this quest, for this journey, and what I'm trying to obtain, I have to care for it in the first place.
Oh yeah, RPGs in general are honestly are story driven. So if you don't have a care for the foundation that's given to you, whether it's slow pace or fast paced type story, then yeah, you probably may not like the game in general. However, though, if the gameplay is really good,
Yeah.
though, I think you should at least overlook its potentially mediocre or bad story. To just judge it from that merit alone. Oh, worker though, in my opinion, the top layer should be your story and its foundation on how you deliver to you, and then its gameplay. If one doesn't work, then try to look into what the second one has. If both suck, then move on with your life.
Yeah, like I want to like the characters. That's the big thing too with RPGs. I want to like the characters. Like you're like what Ren said. Like, I mean, if you expect me to do side quests and hell, even finish like the main story, you
It's a
I
lot of
gotta
asking
care about
time.
the characters.
It's a lot of hours too, so it's a lot to
Yeah.
ask.
Yeah.
I do get it if it's slow though, because I heard some people arguing about that, saying, "Well, this story takes a while to pick up steam." But I'm like, well, if it's still good, and I'm waiting around to figure out what's happening, and I'm very invested into the world, I'm going to continue to play this RPG regardless.
Actually, Ren, I got a good question to what you said about slow burn. There's a really good example, Persona 5. It's a great RPG. Like, I think it's a fantastic game. However, the first 10 hours are pretty slow. Like, there's a ton of tutorials. I mean, a shitload of tutorials. And, like, it takes a while to get in the groove in that game when you go through the palaces. But I do think it's worth it because I do like the general mystery. And, like, the characters aren't really likable, So it all evens out. So I think with that, it might turn some people off, but when you give it a fair shake, it's definitely worth it.
Sorry, to put it in perspective though, since I play a lot of Persona as well, and I could give probably a little bit more to it. The first dungeon, mostly in most games, would be a glorified tutorial, which is true because there's a lot of layers you gotta work with though, so it doesn't like spoon feed everything at you, which is a good thing because you could forget mechanic or it might lose you later down the line. So it takes some time building you up to get used to the game. Once you hit the second dungeon though, that's when the gloves are off, and no, you're free. You're a free bird.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's an example of it being a slow burn in a way, if you look at it like that. Personally, I don't see Persona 5 as a slow burn. I see it like other typical RPGs, especially from Atlas. But that's an example how like Persona 5 in particular, or in some other Persona games do it. The first dungeon is like the glorified tutorial, and then the next one you do, it's it's all hands on deck.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree. Yeah. Definitely a game, but it's definitely worth playing though. Yeah.
Those are the patience RPGs where it's like 4 stars getting good, you gotta go through these 10 hours. Grandia 1 was kind of like that too, in my opinion, where the intro is very slow, but once you get on the pirate ship and you start wrecking some of the bosses and encountering new monsters, it gets a lot better. So anyone else to add on what makes RPGs bad?
Yeah, if you get soft locked out of it and you don't get to progress any further, that always kills it for me.
Oh,
There's a very
like
specific one that always comes to mind, and that was in Wild Arms 1, where there is a story event where you have to open a door with a key. And if anybody's ever played Wild Arms, you know what a duplicator is, you know there's only so many in the world. If for any reason you're stupid like me, and you take the one duplicator they give you to open a locked door to then open a chest, you get to start over. Because I thought maybe I'd just find another duplicator somewhere. Nope. You have to start the game over completely because you can no longer progress in the story because some idiot locked a door with a key that you can use. It's not a key item, it's a regular old item. So good job on that one. What was the other one that really bugged me? There was another soft locking example was an Evolution for Dreamcast. I think it got remade on the Wii. You will run out of places to grind in that game. If you progress in the story long enough, you don't have anywhere you can go back to level up. and you can get absolutely locked into a boss fight you can't win if you haven't leveled up enough. And it's at the very end of the game.
Jesus Christ, that sucks.
Which game again?
Hey,
That is Evolution. It came out on the Dreamcast, and I think it got remade on the Wii.
I'm guessing even if you don't have a save state, though, it won't make a difference.
You could have saved. Well, here's the thing: if you're not, if the game hasn't dicked you over until that exact moment, it's never done that, so you'd never assume it's going to. But then you get to this one part of the game, like you can kind of fiddle with it. You can like resummon all the enemies in a dungeon and go level up a little bit, or you can like leave and then come back and they'll resummon. But at this one point of the game, boss like save point. So you have a save state, and you're like, boss fight. Okay, cool. Now I'll just go back and level up if I need to because I can't like handle the stat how this thing is statted out. And then you go to leave, and there's like, nope, there's danger outside. You can't go there. I'm like, fuck you, game. There's danger in front of me. So yeah, if you haven't leveled up to a certain point in the game, or if you just picked the wrong third party member because they're all interchangeable and they can be swapped out, if you didn't go into this area with the correct third party member, you just lose. Start over.
That's really stupid. Well,
Yeah, so games that can soft lock you and just honey dick you, fuck those games.
God damn.
Honey dick. I have not heard that word in a long time.
Oh yeah, that infamous word.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Man, oh man.
That's a story for another time.
As we move on from the proverbial honey dicking, is there anyone else? Is there anyone else?
Off of the proverbial honey dicking and on to the literal honey dicking.
I'm sorry. I lost my concentration. Is there anyone else who wants to answer this? No? Okay. We've honey dicked the podcast.
Yep.
I guess we can move on to Happy Mills Day. Okay. Never mind.
I swear to God.
It was Happy Mother's Day. Now it's Happy Mills Day. So say hello.
You're not technically wrong though, but I mean,
where's that Hallmark card?
Say hello to your
Renegade Operative, the appreciator of MILFs.
say hello to them cougars for me. I need them cougars in my life. All right.
My God.
We're gonna do outros though. Oh Lord.
Outros?
Yes, outros. So Drill, since you talk, go ahead and do your outro, sir.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Drillbit777. It's the only place I'm really active at. But yeah, I didn't mention the top 5 RPGs, but oh well.
Well, go ahead and do that now. Do your quick list. Make it fast though.
Okay. Probably 5. Yeah, 5 Suikoden, 2, 4 Breath of Fire, 4. 3 would probably be Fire Emblem. I guess Path of Radiance. 2 would be Final Fantasy X, and 1 would be Xenoblade 2.
All right, I knew Xenoblade would be in there somewhere. God damn. All right, Mr. Andre, where can we find you, buddy?
You can find me at Twitter, Andre B Venom, and yeah, it was definitely a joy talking about RPGs and MILFs on this great podcast.
All right, Cryo.
You can find me on both YouTube and Twitter under the same handle, Cryo Gaming.
Cujo.
You can find me whenever the wind whistles between the leaves, or you could just go to my Twitter at Overlord Arcade, or YouTube at also Overlord Arcade.
Who else do we miss? Brandon.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Ren Operative _.
You fuck all right now.
Okay, so yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Moto Brando. You can find me here at FNL. And you can also find me on MILF Day. So yeah, there you go.
All right, you can find me on Pornhub under the MILF tab as Renegade Operative. You know,
all right.
She got
also follow Ren TikTok and also Pornhub.
Fuck TikTok. Anyway, you can find me on Twitter at RenOperative_. You can find me on YouTube, Renegade Operative. Put out my review of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Cheeks. So you want to find me reviewing that movie, then you can go right ahead. I'll be putting this podcast up later. So yeah, if you missed out in the IAS Discord, or we're gonna work on that so people can sort of listen to us banter about Final Fantasy in the future. But anyway, this podcast is done, so we will see you guys next time. And also, someone did not mention Shin Megami Tensei, so I'm mentioning it at the end of this podcast because it was never brought up. So,
see, I try avoiding SMT and by proxy Persona because it's the same series because I could go for hours talking about the series.
Yeah. It may be here for a while, but yeah.
If you want them vaginal lips pierced by the Matador, then you can go play SMT and see how you feel.
Yeah.
Okay. Then.
Jesus.
I'm sorry for ending it like this. God damn it.
Oh my god.
Go ahead, Cryo. What were you saying? We're about to sign off.
I was gonna say, might as well sign off Tolkien as well, since she had a dip to do something.
Okay, so her YouTube is Lady Tolkien, I believe. I'm not sure about the Twitch. Not Twitch. Oh, I'm thinking of Twitch all of a sudden.
Twitter.
Yeah, the Twitter is Lady Tolkien 7. Okay.
Yes.
Got it on the first try. And that's everyone outro so far. So we will see you guys next time. Have a happy Mills Day. And give a hug to your mom for me, and I'll see you later.
Okay.
Why did that sound?
Why did you moan,
Bruh?
Why did you moan? He said, give your mom a hug.
Giga mama.
Like, what the fuck?
Jesus, don't ara this thing while we close up.